Hey guys, today we're gonna talk about Android and Samsung. This is one of the things that's really hard but fun to compare. So let's see who's gonna win this battle. So let's break them into a few categories. First of all, ease of use. So people just love to say that Apple's product just work, and that's so true. The iOS interface is easy to use, but so is the Android interface. Frankly, if you can use one, you won't have much trouble using the other. But sure, a decade ago when the iPhone first appeared, and the Windows Mobile and Nokia phones were the competition, the iPhone blew them away. They're so much easier to use. That was 10 plus years ago, not today. There's a lot that differentiates the two leading OSs today when it comes to ease of use. If we put up appearance and home screen setup into this category, things tip toward Android, because Android smartphones do give you more control over the system and its applications. The next thing I want to talk about is the finish and price. iPhones are beautiful, very true. Samsung phones, they vary widely. Some phones such as the S20 and the Google Pixel are every bit as attractive as the iPhone 11 Pro. But true, controlling the step of the manufacturing process, Apple makes sure that their iPhones have great fit and finish. But so do big Android manufacturers. But with that being said, some Android phones are just plain ugly. And part of the reason for that is that Apple makes nothing but luxury phones. The only cheap phone there is right now is the SE2. But if you don't want to pay top dollar for an iPhone, your only choice is to get to a used one. But as robust as the iPhone SE2 is, decent Android phones can go up as little as $100 and even $50. But are they good looking? Not really, but they get the job done at the fraction of the price of an iPhone. Next thing I want to talk about is our AI and voice assistant. So when it comes to Google Assistant versus Siri, there's no winner of which is the winner. Google Assistant by a mile. That's the reason for that is because the Google Assistant is more than an excellent search voice interface to Google. If you use Google applications such as Google Calendar and Google Maps, Google Assistant can make your life so much simpler. Like, say you're meeting somebody downtown for lunch and the traffic is awful. Google Assistant will work out your time to leave as well as the route to take beforehand, and it's going to notify you when. Now, that's super cool. Siri may have been the first to market. It is getting updates now, but it's fine for answering basic questions, but it's not really an assistant. So next thing I want to talk about is something big, which is updates. Here Apple beats Android hollow, no problem with Apple here. When Apple releases a new update or a patch up, all phones, or at least those are still supported, get it. With Android phones, you just have to pray and hope for the best. Unlike the iPhone where every detail is under Apple's control, with Android, Google supplies the base operating system and some programs, and it's up to the phone manufacturers to deliver the upgrades and patches. So with high-end phones like Samsung, you'll get the patches along with all other Android smartphones. You might not get a security patch. According to Skyscraper, mobile threat defense vendor, nearly 3/4 of Android devices are running without update security. And the surprise for me is that when I was working on this, I thought that figure was so low. I would have guessed that 90% of Android devices have out-of-date software. So, but on the other hand, iOS devices can be flaky a little. iOS needs to do a better job. Apple does need to do a better job with quality assurance, because I can't remember an update. Let's go all the way to iOS 6 where there hasn't been a Wi-Fi problem. And in iOS 14 beta, I've seen a little bit of Wi-Fi problems, but Android updates work when I get them, but there's clear advantage here. The Apple is amazing with updates. The next thing I want to talk about is an important issue if you're somebody who wants to make sure you are safe on the web. It's security. It's not like Android has security problems. Like, Google is a little more lax than Apple with what applications it'll let into its app store. So yeah, the best way to keep malware off your Android gadget is to only get apps from Google Play. But even so, Google reports that 0.16% of all apps contain malware. Now that you might not sound like a lot, but it actually is. But if you're an iPhone user, don't get too cocky. Though there is an iPhone malware out there, just waiting for an overconfident user to, download that dodgy program. But still, iPhones are inherently more secure. So next thing I want to talk about is, I don't know about you at least, but here I tend to connect my phones to other gear like headphones, speakers, other chargers. Especially I have a couple other phones. So here Android has an advantage because all Android devices have standard USB ports. So there are many gadgets which I can connect using my one charger. So with iPhones, you need to get something that will connect with its proprietary Lightning port. So of course that might change, but not yet. But another advantage is that the USB cables and devices are just cheaper than Lightning ports. So that would be an area in which Google might exceed, Android might exceed. But next thing I want to talk about is something that affects nearly all of us, which is the battery life and charging. And this one's hard to judge because every Android phone is different. But in my experience with Samsung, Motorola, and LG phones, Android phones don't nearly charge as much as iPhones. The charging does vary a lot. You might call this somewhat of a draw, depending on the battery, how old the battery is, how old the phone is, and how much you use it, along with what apps you use. Next thing I want to talk about is video conferencing, because I wasn't sure whether to toss this in or not, because video conferencing is an odd subject. So Google can't seem to make up its mind whether it wants to use Google Meet or Google Hangouts or which app for Google video conferencing. I think Google Hangouts is the master with communications. It's right now the master with Google's communications. I could be wrong because it does have texting and video call. But with iPhones, it's FaceTime, period. FaceTime is a great video conferencing program, but for me, I just wish it ran on more than just Apple platforms. But if your whole work group or family is using Apple, you're good. But if one person is using Android, then you sort of have a problem. Alright, next thing I want to talk about is cameras, because I'm no camera expert, but I do know that cameras vary widely on Android phones. With that said, the Galaxy, let's say the OnePlus Nord, which uses basically essentially the same hardware as the OnePlus 8, that does seem to be a bit behind the top of the line iPhone 11 Pro, but I wouldn't consider it that far because it is a budget phone. But both cameras are very, very good. So in my amateur-ish option, the iPhone's a little bit better at most things, but the Galaxy models, with the wider angle lens, are a tad better at selfies and do have more features. So I'm going to call this one draw. Next thing I want to talk about is software choice. So once upon a time, you could argue that there were better apps on one app store than the other. These days, it's pretty, much a dead tie, because besides, with 2.8 million apps on the Google Play Store and 2.2 million on the App Store, it's not like you're going to run out of apps anytime soon. So how do I pick my phone? You need to pick a phone that fits your budget and your needs. And, put it all together, it isn't that simple. There might be a one-size-fits-all answer for you, but like I said, at the outset, both phones' ecosystems have their advantages and disadvantages. So it really comes down to your budget and what matters most to you. For me, the answer is Android, but I'm not going to fight if you prefer an iPhone, unlike some people I could name. Alright guys, that's all for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below which one you like better. I'll see you in the next one.